Hi. I always wanted to do this video. Not that I haven't done other videos about this particular topic before, but I want to bring perspective. This globe is said to be the earth that we live on in a depiction. In other words, this globe is supposed to be a representation of the planet that is called Earth. Capiche? That means, do you comprehend? Or, okay. Now, they say that this globe, the scientific community that was established during the age of enlightenment, about 300 years ago, from Caligula to Galliano, from Galliano to Orthoteles to Aristotle, to all of these so-called great minds, Einstein, all these minds who were number one 30 degrees Masons and a part of the Royal Society. Now, you may not know nothing, zero, about the Royal Society. So first, let me put that aside. Just listen to the name, the Royal Society. And if you want to know about it, educate yourself. Just go on YouTube and get some tutorials about who comprise and what is the configuration that's called the Royal Society. Good, enough of that. Based on scientific notions, they claim that this so-called depiction of what they call the globe that represent the planet that they call Earth sits on an axis, an invisible axis, and it has two prime numbers that is called in Fibonacci mathematics the sacred pure ratio, the creation of the Big Bang. That's a different topic. They say that on the top of this globe, with its slant on its axis, this is 33.4 degrees. And at the bottom, where it's supposed to be the South Pole, the North Pole, South Pole, is 66.6 degrees. Keep the number 666 and 33 in mind. First thing, who put the Earth on the axis? And if it's invisible, how do you know that it exists? The word invisible simply means you can't see it. It's not existable. So, in other words, you're telling me the Big Bang created Earth that sits on an invisible axis that I can't see, but you can measure it. Boy, let's go on. You also tell me that the reason why the Earth is tilted to get these angles is simply because the tilt gives you the seasons. Because by tilting the sun in certain angles, it gets closer or further away from the sun. Then you get winter and summers. And the two fall and spring. Good. Suffice? They tell me also this Earth spins backwards. Yeah, backwards. You know, and the reason why they come up with this conclusion is that a clock spins from left to right. No, from right to left. I always make that boober. But this earth spins anti-clockwise. Anti always means against. So it spins from left to right. The opposite. Do you believe that? That's what I tell you. And if you don't believe it, then don't listen no more. How did I know that? The earth has spin backwards. Don't mention to me about science, don't mention about NASA, don't mention me about gravity. I'm just talking to you. We can get all of that as a side discussion. But it's asking questions. And if you are angry or bewitched because I'm asking simple questions, then start listening to the video. But if you are amazed to see the questions I'm asking, then just listen. So I've asked 3 important questions. I'm not going to repeat myself. Go back and begin. Since the clock spins one side and this spins opposite side, how would they know? How would they know there's an invisible axis? How do they know that the earth has these two angles? Who determines which part is up and down? Yeah. Who determines where is up and down? That's another question. Good. The reason why I asked that question, who determines what's up and down, you notice I have some color pins on this globe? Those are just not randomly placed there or something I forgot to take off. Those are precisely, deliberately pinned there. I'll tell you why. I ask you, who decides what is up or down? This pin is pinned in a place that was once known before you had all this madness about the globe, in the Indus Valley. Today it's called India, the Indus Valley, where you have the Vedics writing, from mathematics to Sanskrit. It also occupied a place that's called the Himalayas. That is mountainous in an area that's called Tibet. Outside, on the outskirts, just above the so-called equator. You see that white blue line right there? See the word equator? The word equator simply means half. Here, from here at the equator, all the way so-called around, and from here around would actually be symmetrically. So that's what's called equator. Really means equal division. The word equator, Latin, not English. You see the Q? How much words in English that you know of the word Q, apart from queen? That's linguistics. Anyhow, I'm not going to bore you. Go back here. So we know we are in Himalayas, in India. And there's a famous mountain that everybody goes to. You see Everest? Mount Everest was named after a general who was called a surveyor general that was hired by one of the sultans of the Indus Valley before it was called India to measure the amount of territories that he was able to conquer through wars and what we will call in today's history slavery. It was not the kind of slavery where you hold people and put them in chains. It's like you conquer land, all the people becomes your subjects. And it was called indentured servitude. And the white people call it indentured servitude, but when it comes to black people, they call it slavery. It's the same word. It just meant that you were in captivity. That's what it meant. And yeah, sometimes you could be brutalized and demonized and all the other lies isms. Anyhow, the main thing, just a little side chat, is that right here, this pen is stuck in the place that is depicted as Mount Everest. If I take it out here, you see them empty. Mount Everest, right there. So I like to ask one question. They say that Mount Everest got its name because of the same Surveyor General whose name was Everest Lee something. I don't remember his last name. And unfortunately, he died before he actually was able to complete the survey. And his partner, who was another English surveyor, completed the task and then wrote a book, attributed the stars, and that's how the mountain was changed from a different name. I remember I once had the name of the mountain before it was called Mount Everest, but that's not important. You can check it out yourself. In that way you can prove if I'm telling lies. So go to Google or someplace and put in what was the name of the mountain before it was called Mount Everest. And you'll find out. Then you'll see that I don't make shit up. Anyhow, let's get to the main point. If this is Mount Everest, and this is actually a true depiction of the place or the so-called globe that we live on, and these so-called lands is really where they are, then let me ask you this question. If we turn this map, this globe, just a little, spin it a little around, you see, because there's no real exactly face on this map, this globe, you know, because this globe is always spinning. A matter of fact, this globe is supposed to be spinning right now with you on it at the equator, right here at the equator, at 1,040 miles per hour. Did you hear what I said? As I am speaking to you right now, this moment, in wherever you are, science tells you that this earth is spinning at the equator right now at 1,040 miles per hour. Yes. And even more. This is Mount Everest. Have you ever did geometry at school? Yeah, geometry. Geometry is a science that we use every day as carpenters. Remember? We do 40 degrees angles when we're doing what you call the cuts at the end of the molding. So people just give them a 45 angle, remember? As opposed to 90. And when we cut the top, we are cutting rectangles. And our screw-in drains are round. And sometimes we have to, and our frame that we use to trace the tub is really a triangle. So don't say that you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the word geometry. It's the building block of carpentry. Well, yeah. So if I use my geometry here, would it suffice that what I'm saying is really intelligently to say? Let's try. If you had a circle you will have what you call, in a circle, you have to see from a distance, or even if you stand on a circle and it's big enough, something that they call a simple name. Very simple. A curvature. This ball has a curvature. It's round, it's spherical. So standing on a spherical base, you can still get 180 degrees. Not directly, literally, but you use geometry. So let's do that. You're standing on spherical earth, but you stand at 90 degrees every time you stand. And when you're standing at 90 degrees, the earth make your feet and its flatness 180 degrees. This is about 35 degrees. If you're a human being that have to stand up upright, and your uprightness based on geometry, if you don't believe in geometry, start using your foot to measure. Because your foot actually, really, is the measurement was used for you to get 12 inches. That's why it's called a foot. What do you think? Is this some imitation? It was called a royal foot. The royalty would measure his foot, and whatever his foot length is how you set measurements. A king. Enough of that. Anyhow, can you stand at 35 degrees? When a human being stands up upright at 90 degrees? Now, try it. Stand up upright. And let me show you something. Right here is my tripod. On this tripod, this is 90 degrees to the ground. Now, I will barely give you an approximation. This foot that slopes off from the vertex of my tripod is about 15 degrees. So the wider it opens, then you get my drift. See how it looks as I stand the camera straight? Can you imagine standing like that, 15 degrees, or even lower? Look at that on the globe. Let me and how will you be able to climb Mount Everest? Can you climb a mountain that's on the side of a globe, of a spherical dimension? Can you even imagine the Earth having that kind of shape that would cause you to able you to climb up on that mountain? I mean, you can say you can climb across. You know, you shouldn't use the word up at all. Let me even get you a little more vexer, if there's such a word. I know vex with the ER may not be the right gender. This is South Africa. This is the Falkland Islands. This is in places like Argentina and Chile, what they call South Africa. Just above it's called Venezuela, just above the equator. And this section here is a place called Australia. Any person would tell you that they always insult the Aussies. There is also an insulting name, Aussies, and claim that they live down under. Have you ever met any person from Australia? I've met many people going to Australia and coming back from Australia that they pick up at the airport. I always give this joke. That sometimes not really a joke. They take me as a stupid, to take it as a stupid joke. Where people who have to believe that joke should not only laugh, they should laugh at their own self to see how stupid they are to even believe that that could be possible. And I know exactly you know what I'm telling you. So let me say in case you're playing dumb. If Australia is down under, how can you stand at 220 degrees? Approximately. In other words, you are both almost standing upside down. Now I know you can tell me 210 degrees? Oh, you ain't school? So let me turn it to the side. Remember I told you in geometry you could get 180 degrees as a straight, we call it horizontal? So if you were to stretch a horizontal and put this pin and try to stick this pin in horizontal, would it be down under the 180 degrees? So what do you have to have about 15 to 20 more degrees? So you get 120 between 130, 120 to 130 degrees? Which means instead of you standing, instead of you lying down, it's like you're laying down on a bed and your head is hanging down on the ground. You know how babies does that? Or you know sometimes you lie on the bed and just hang over, where your head is facing down. Could you stand like that from the day you're born until this very moment without knowing? I headstand a lot. And you know I can only headstand at least for good 45 minutes before you start getting delirious. Before the blood start deciding, even though sometimes the blood when I headstand just retards itself and kind of give me a kind of strength because it retards itself to a point where it slows down, but not really slow, but so my heart is beating slower and it takes away fatigue. You know, a slower heartbeat is a longer age. You know, the slower your heartbeat, the longer you live. You think I'm lying? If you were to get a pump, get a motor, and you drive it for 10 years, and it spins 1,000 times every minute, and you get another motor and drive it for 10 years, and it spins 100 times every minute, which one do you think will last longer? The same motor, driving the same distance, but spinning slower. The only thing about the motor that you make bigger gears, and smaller gears, to reduce the amount of turns. There's a different thing about engineering. Just a question. And what that question have to do with anything? You can't stand upside down, approximately. Not even if you're living in Australia. Just think about it. Does it make sense to you? And I didn't tell you a lot. I could tell you a lot more. As a matter of fact, I can tell it to you. Let me put the glue down. Now you live in New York. That green peg is New York. New York. You see you got Boston and, you know, you see the end just at the beginning of the green pin. That's not from New York. Do you believe right now, if you would take a protractor, I don't want to do it, I want you to do it yourself. Because I want you to prove me wrong. And since that we are looking at the globe from a so-called western side, I don't know how to go west or east, because you can't find a side on the ball. a ball is round. So for you to decide like, what part is east and west when the ball is spinning, no, I can ask that question again. Looking at the face of the ball, and remember, my camera is really straight. Can you be standing at 35 degrees all your life? The reason why New York and the Himalayas is at such a degree on this ball is because if you go around the lines of latitude and latitude, I mean, you will get that they're on the same line. Capiche? So you actually have to say, oh, matter of fact, let me go further so you can see. They actually back in front of each other, right? Here and there. Just according to the map, along higher from the equator. But they're basically about the same angle, between 20 to 35 degrees. And if you can't climb a mountain, because the mountain is on the side, so you have to drag up the mountain, well, unless you climb like a monkey, not up but across. You can't stand in New York City. I live in New York. And I know every day when I go out, I'm standing at 90 degrees, vertical. Anytime I'm standing at 35 degrees is when I lean on a wall. And trust me, I don't lean on walls too often, because I can stand it. And not only would this ball spin at 1,040 miles per hour, and I can feel it. And this ball is going around the sun at 250 miles per hour, 250,000 miles per hour. And it's going around. It's traveling through the so-called universe at, according to science, 500,000 miles per hour. I want to say it slowly. 500,000 miles per hour. I gotta end this video. When I was a part of the Brotherhood as a Mason, I'll show you my paraphernalia, my fatigue. I'll let you see. Maybe next video. There was an innate understanding about a lot of things about this earth and the world and beliefs and the five senses. One time I compende, what you call a guy who took me under his arms as a brother in the fraternity, named Charles. He said to me, we were having a conversation, and he said to me, 90.9% of people living on this earth are imbeciles. And I laughed, and I asked him, what is an imbecile? And he looked at me, and he said, "You can't think." And I was spooked. So I went home, since I had access to a lot of literature via books, and I look up what is a imbecile. But I didn't really look at it in a dictionary, per se. You see, I was reading Encyclopedia on Human Psychological Problems. And that book was written, and today that book has been written in 2013 and was published in Manhattan by a company called Pfizer, who was a pharmaceutical giant. And the group that I was once affiliated with, not as active but passive, where I was a part of a radio station as the investigation and all those kind of things. That's a different age. We protested the book. They protested the book on 2nd Avenue in 42nd Street. There's a big building called Pfizer. Next thing you go to Manhattan, check it out. They make all the pharmaceutical pills for mostly people who are schizophrenic and you know those names, psychotic and paranoid and those nice terms. The reason why I give you this part is that when I look into the literature and the word imbecile was not used, it had lobotomy. Lobotomy. So as I was a reader, when I read lobotomy, lobotomy is an operation that is mostly used in prisoners who are sadistic killers and rapers. They annihilate some parts of the brain. And these people are not only functionally illiterate, they live their lives as zombies. And they use a scientific concept is called learned helplessness. They become so helpless in their ability that they become infantile. And you have to tell them everything. They can't think on their own no more. A matter of fact, when you tell them something, you have to tell them again. A matter of fact, sometimes you have to show them what to do. Because they become imbeciles. And when I read that literature, and I was able to put the two words, imbecile and lobotomization, that is done because you want to turn a human being, not into a savage, into a zombie. A living dead. So, I tell you that story because that's not a part of the brotherhood anymore. Because I have to believe that about you. And the reason why I have to believe that about you is so tragic. Because you will not even think that the shit that they tell you about this globe can never, ever exist. I could take you further. I could take you all to NASA, SpaceX. But I just want you to look for the first time in your life and just sit down. Don't say a word. Or look at the so-called countries and ask yourself these two questions. If this ball represents the globe and it's spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, and that's where the city measure it, how comes I can't feel it? But I also say this in conclusion. I didn't ask you any other question. So please do not misinterpret my question and make it the question that you wish I had asked so you can give me your answer. That is another stupid ass, foolish, dumb, unintelligent answer. It's not even an answer. It's for me to look at you as a stain in reality that you would never ever think for yourself. And yes, you can go to work, make money, but even be able to buy a house and raise a family. But you'll never be able to think for yourself. Because when you can think for yourself, you don't have to build a house. You don't have to work to get money to buy a house. You know how to build a house. You don't have to work for money. You let your money work for you. And yes, I work for money. I don't work for money. I work for exchange of my time to get the comforts that life offers me in a kind of way that I know I'm going to dead and leave it. But anyhow, not taking you away from the central thought. In the brotherhood, there's an innate way. Masons, fraternity, and let me explain something to you. If you think that you don't know a Mason, you fool yourself even bigger. 99% 8% of the police officers are Masons. 99.9% of pastors are Masons. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, firefighters, even carpenters are Masons. I would make a video and I give you insight of what is called the Masonic knowledge. And we know, as Master Masons, that if you believe, and the word belief does not exist in a lexicon of intelligence. Belief has a history, that word itself. And when I researched the etymology of the word belief, almost 20 years ago, these words were coined or created not for the ordinary human being to ever even espouse. Because belief came from a word called, in German, we call Germanic concept linguistics. In other words, English is a derivative of Germanic scripts. In other words, writings, sounds, where you get your vowels and I, A, O, U. That's a different story. But these names, Germanic concept, is what the concept that we know today is called English. It's not even English. It's really angel land. But the word English, ISH, onto angel land, is another game to pull on the entire earth. That's a different story. But we know that the earth was created by God. And man cannot leave the earth. There's no space. There's no galaxies. There's none of those things. All those words are Latin words. The word galaxy comes from a Latin word called galasa, which means milk circle, or circle milk. And that story means that in old times, people built houses that were in circle shape. And I could give the story why people use architecture today as square or rectangles. In those days, they used a circle because the concept of zero is the beginning of all numbers. From 0 to 1 is the beginning. So if you start from creation, you start at 0. So they use that kind of architecture as we use today, whereby Pythagoras theory, that's a different mathematical discussion. They use circles. And they use herbs, milk herbs, get herb, like nut milk and almond milk and other milk that you can get from. And this milk was very powerful because they were able to use this milk to keep away a propellant for insects. So they will put the milk around the property that we will call a house, they'll call it a hovel or dwelling. Different words. And that would protect the same insects that we have, ants and crawling varmints, from entering the house. So the popes and so these people that run the world bewitch you. So bewitch and create a name of something that never exists and get you turn a story and personify the story name galaxy and tell you the galaxy is someplace in a place called space that we know as carpenters we call square area. And it doesn't exist because space is how big a room is. And we do not measure it by space. We call it what square feet of space you have. The same word, same spelling. And these people create this illusion and dumb the world so down, and make you believe that you live on a planet, and the word planet is a Greek word for the word called planetos. And the word planetos is actually a phrase in Greek, and the phrase simply says wanderer. And they ascribe this wanderer to 5 stars or 7 stars that is heavenly bodies And that's a different story. I don't want to get into that story now. And they call them planets. While before that, the ancients call them wonders of eternity. Like I said, it's a different story. I'm not going to get into that story. And tell you the Earth is a planet and it spins at 1,000 plus 40 miles per hour and it wobbles the axis to give you the seasons. And you are living on this globe that is traveling through a universe. The word universe came from the word university, which really, university. Remember, and I'm going to say this sternly, the words that we use in English has heavy derivatives of other dialects. Latin, Germanic, Norfolk, Gothic. And if you're intelligent, you know what I'm saying. It's information. Not true or false. Information. You're being informed. So these people that run the world, that who controls the livelihood, who controls all the government, your education, everything they give to you, they tell you these stories. And you're looking in the sky for milk. I'm going to conclude. If you think air spin 1,040 miles per hour, and you can feel it. When I started to do a lot of scientific research, I would read books about Einstein and his theory that was ascribed to him, because Einstein never had a theory. Now the theories ascribed to Einstein doesn't make sense. Einstein was a plagiarist. Einstein worked at the patent offices in in Germany. He saw all of the important invention and mathematical expressions that came across his desk, and he was elated because he was such a mind. But he never invented nothing. He never proved nothing. He never discovered anything. He just copied other people's mathematical what you call explorations, and he would then decide to critique them, and he would steal already formulas of old Asian from all the way back to ancient times, where you get the mathematician who created all of these so-called maps of the earth, like the Gillian map, the Magellan map. I could give you maps that have nothing to do with this globe. Magellan. Yeah, you know who Magellan? He has a navigation. Research the name of that navigation. The man. Garmin. What is his name were? Voyagers. It was sent up by kings and queens to discover territories. That's what it was named. Why these gadgets were named after them. Do you ever wondered why they call Magellan? He was a man just like you and I. He was the explorer for some of the greatest kings and queens of Europe, looking for land. So he had to use cartology, maps. And forget the bullshit that they're talking about Earth was so wrong that you'll fall off the end. They know that was foolish, dumb, imbecilical belief. So let's go back to the word belief. The word belief comes from a German word that means belefa. But it's also a beginning of a love story. And when I say it's also beginning of a love story, it begins with that of a love story. And it has to do with so-called marriage, not today's marriage. We buy a ring for $50,000. We're not talking about that kind of marriage. It has to do with a confidant, where a man who would look and find what you call, in those old time years, where you call a young lady a daffodil and all those kind of things in a flower. And he would elate her or tell her poems and nursery rhymes like we do today. Well, we don't do it today. We sing a lot of shit, called love songs. And he would talk to her, and she would fall in love with him. And he would make her believe her. But they will come from a belefa, which means blind submission. Blind submission. To believe something is to accept it blindly without what you call evidence. I mean, that's love, right? That's why people marry. Baby, I love you. I'm going to love you forever. We can get married and go to a farm or house. In next 10 years, we divorce. That's belief. So, we know if we believe that, you will believe our story too. Because it's just a story. You don't believe nothing. You don't believe in things. Because you can't believe in things. A thing is an object. Things can't move. People make them move. You can't believe in anything because there's nothing such as anything. Point to it. In conclusion, what made me realize as a youth that I can't live my life as a liar, deceiver, and simply an evil person. So I have to live the truth. So truth brought me to question first the place that I live on. And not only did it ask me, where do I live? It asked me where I come from. Who am I? And what am I doing here? And where am I going when I leave here? So if I have to answer these questions, the first thing I have to find out is where I live. Because I can't accept, nor will never, because I don't watch science pictures. The word science in Latin comes from the word scientificus, or scintilla. And scintilla is used in law. In Latin, it simply means, scintilla means there's nothing that I can see tangible, nothing I can touch, nothing I can hear, nothing I can feel to prove what you said is true. Scintillas. It means to know. How do you know things? How do you know me? Because you see me, right? If you never saw me, how can you know me? So I don't believe things. And I have grown and become wise enough to know that I know nothing. So what I do in this world is believe nothing and question everything. So that has brought me, and not only now. If I was to ever tell you the real reason why I had to come to this conclusion about this so-called globe, you will not believe it. But that's for a different discussion. It's not that I ever had believed that the earth did all spin 1,040 miles per hour, go around the sun at 250,000 miles per hour, and the sun and the moon and the 7 planets go around the galaxy at 2 to 300,000 miles per hour, and this galaxy, the sun, is flying through an expanding universe at almost 500,000 miles per hour, 500,000 miles per hour, and they use the word hour. 60 minutes. This is Elvis, and I'm out.